If you're a new investor, day trader, or even swing trader, and maybe you have looked at the stock charts and thought, oh my gosh, I need to have a PhD in freaking mathematics in order to understand it, well, I have great news for you. You don't. And today we are going to talk about how to read the stock charts. I'm going to run through a couple of different charts to give you some examples. I'm going to run through the terminology. Basically, at the end of this video, you'll have everything you need in order to adequately read the stock charts and start making some investments. My name is LaKiesha Tomlin. I am a former engineering manager, current day trader, and I help people learn how to day trade. So if day trading is not your thing and you're just looking to invest, that's totally cool. This video is definitely going to help you. So in order for me to give you the rundown on a stock chart, let's head over to my computer so I can show you exactly what I'm looking at and give you the full breakdown, so that way you could read these stock charts and not feel overwhelmed. All right, so now we're at my computer and I'm just at Yahoo Finance, and they have so much information when it comes to stocks, it's insane. So it's something that I used way before I even started using. It's something that I used way before I started using something like TradingView, a tool that also has charts. It has a lot of other things that Yahoo Finance doesn't, but let's focus on Yahoo Finance because this is accessible to pretty much everyone. So if I wanted to find Apple, I'm already here, but let me show you how to find it. The ticker symbol is AAPL. And then you can see Apple there, or if you're looking for something else, like let's just say Tesla, TSLA, then you could get that right there. But right now, since we're on Apple, let's just go ahead and focus on that. So inside of this area, there's definitely a lot of information and it can be overwhelming. I know I was overwhelmed when I first started looking at this stuff, but there's a lot of useful information here. So if we look at this chart, we can see currently that it's up 40 cents and it's fluctuating because the market is still open and it's still a few more hours before it closes. So one thing we notice right here is the previous close of 164.87. So the previous close is the price from yesterday. And we know it's from yesterday mainly because over here, here's a timeline. And this timeline shows us 1 day intervals. So this is all of the action from today. This is right here, 5 days, all of the action from the past 5 days, month, 6 months, year to date. So that's basically from January 1st up until now, 1 year, 5 years, and max, which max goes all the way back to December 1984. There's a lot of information here. So let's just focus on the 1 day. So for today, so previous close refers to yesterday's close. And that will basically, that is just good information to know, mainly because we see that the distance, if you will, or the price between the 164 and what it is right now is 43 cents. So that tells us that, hey, since today's price is higher than yesterday's close, that the market is up. And it's easy to see just by these numbers here, but intuitively, that's what that means. So the open price here, basically, let me get my drawing tool so you can see these things, but the open price, which is right here, the open refers to the price that the market was when the market opened. So right now it's at 165.24 or 27. It keeps moving, but basically it's higher than the open price, which is why this chart right here is green. And then we have the bid and the ask. So every transaction on the stock market, there has to be a buyer and a seller, and the bid is coming from the person who is trying to buy, and the ask is coming from the person who is trying to sell. So it's just like if you were selling a car. You have a price that you want to sell it at, but the buyer may want it for a lower price. It's exactly what's happening right here in the stock market. So here are the bid and the ask prices. So here's some numbers here. I really don't pay attention to that because that doesn't really affect me. And really bid and ask, if you're just buying stocks for the long term, or maybe if you're day trading, it's not really all that important to you, but basically it's just good to know what is happening in this bid and ask. And the days range, this is really helpful because it tells you what the prices have been bouncing between. So this says 163 and 163.76 and 165.82. It's just good information to know. I don't really use it. It's just, oh, okay, it's been going between those two ranges. And then the 52-week range. Now this can be really, really helpful because 52 weeks is equivalent to 1 year. And sometimes you may have heard on the news or wherever that, oh, this company broke the 52-week low or high or range. And basically this could signal trouble for the company and that the price could continue to go lower. Or if they say it broke the 52-week range or something like that, then it could mean that the price could be going higher. And 52 weeks is a whole year, so that's a really long time. And if you're a day trader, you don't really care about the 52 weeks, but if you're a long-term investor, then you may care about it. Just to know what the price range is. So 129 and 182, if we're just gonna round up, this is basically a $50 spread. So over the past 52 weeks, it's been pretty much trading between these two prices, and those two prices are about $50. So it's really helpful to know. So if you bought, say at the low or around the low, that your money has increased by almost $50 per share, which is pretty awesome. So it's really good to know because some companies, like for instance Tesla, they're 52 week. Let's just go ahead and look at that just so we can compare it really quick. Tesla. Bam, Tesla. So we see that their 52 week right here is between $8.38 and $8.77. So this is about almost $40 here, or at least this is the day range. That's $40 here. And okay, so if we look at Tesla, we can look at their day range. It's been bouncing between $8.38 and $8.77. So that's roughly a $35 to $40 difference in just the 1 day. But if we look at this 52-week range, it's been bouncing between $620 and $1,200. That's what, $620 roughly gap. So if you had Tesla in these lows, this 60 or 620, and you held it, I mean, at the high, and you sold it at the high, you made a lot of money. Now today it's only at about this, and today it has a loss of 24. So just depending on what you decide to trade in, that 52-week range can really help you understand the volatility of a particular stock. If you're looking at something like Apple versus Tesla, you can see that there's a big price difference between the 620 and the 1243 price, which is $600 and something dollars, versus Apple. Let's go back, as we saw before, was okay, cool. So Apple, their range for today is only a couple bucks, but their 52-week range is $50. So looking at the two different companies, that right there alone tells me that there's a lot more stability in Apple versus Tesla. But for some people who really like Tesla, they want to see those big jumps because it gives them the potential to make more money in a shorter amount of time. If that's you, then go for it. but just looking at those numbers more for long-term trading or even swing trading, basically you're holding something for weeks or even months or maybe a little bit longer, it may be helpful for you to look at this 52-week range if that's something that you're looking to do. Now, the second part of this will go into looking at candlesticks. You can definitely look at those candlesticks here on Yahoo Finance. Let me just show you really quickly. So all you have to do is hit full screen. Let me move myself out the way. And I already have it set up, but basically some of the information that we saw on the other screen, like the date ranges and the intervals. So just really quickly, the interval currently is set at 1D. That is 1 day. And that basically means that each candle here that's represented represents 1 day. So if we went down to the minute, you can see how the candlesticks change. Basically, when you go from a higher time frame, so these intervals are basically known as time frames, and so are these, but basically when you go from a higher time frame, say the 1 day, let's go right here, 1 day interval, down to something like the 1 minute, basically you're zooming in on the price. So 1 day may look like this, but then if you go down to the 1 minute, then it may look like this. So we'll get into that shortly. I'm going to switch over to TradingView, but I wanted to show you how you can look at candles, you can look at lines, or the area chart. These are pretty much, and the hollow charts, or hollow candles. I do look at the hollow candles, and those are a lesson within themselves, but just to keep it simple, the line chart and the candle charts are pretty much the main two things that I look at when I'm looking at a stock chart. And let's see. And before we move over to TradingView, I want to show you really quickly that this stuff down here, this is volume. So earlier we talked about the volume and how basically it's just a bunch of transactions that are happening. For every buyer, there needs to be a seller and vice versa. So if the candle is red, like this one right here, this tells me that on this minute, that basically that there was more selling pressure than buying. And then on this green candle right here, this tells me that at that minute, since we're on the 1 minute interval, that there was more buying in this minute than selling. And then as you can imagine, that the height of the candle means something. It means that there were way more selling that was happening than buying, of course, but compared to the other candles around it, it was pretty extreme. So there were a lot of people selling in this minute, and a lot of times it gets reflected in the charts. So, but not 100%. So anyway, so let's go over to TradingView. All right, so in TradingView, you probably heard a second ago, my alerts went off. I'm looking at something on US 30, but we're just going to ignore that for right now. So I'm just gonna close that and close that alert. So going to Apple inside of TradingView. Now I'm not going to give you a full breakdown of TradingView. That would just make this video way too long. But what I will do is I will show you how to get to Apple. If we want to go to Apple, all you have to do is start typing. So APL, and you can see I have it flagged because I really like Apple and I do trade it. So all you have to do is just type in the ticker symbol and you can find it here. So now that we got this up, we can see that these things over here, let's do this again. These are our time frames. And right now we're on the 1H or the 1 hour time frame. As you probably noticed that these time frames are slightly different from the time frames that you saw in Yahoo Finance. It's nothing to worry about because you can look at the time frames that you're interested in. It's just a lot easier to do it inside of TradingView. So if we look at this 1 hour time frame, we notice that the price is going up, and that these lines here represent moving averages. So basically a moving average just tells you that over a period of time, this is the average price. So on my chart, and we're not going to go into a full tutorial, but on my chart, I have this moving average here, this blue line. This is a 21-day moving average. So it tells me that in 21 days, or over the past 21 days, that the price was about here. And if we were to just look at this, let me get my cursor. If we were just to look at it at this point in time, it tells me that the price was about 158.54. So if you remember from middle school math or high school math, when you were learning how to graph things, this is finally coming in handy. But you don't need to know all of that information to do this. All you do is get your cursor and line it up and you see that that's the price. Or if you have the indicator here, which I do right here, you can just see the price, you know, as you move along. So at this point in time, it's 159.12. So right there. So we can close that. So anyway, so if you've seen lines on people's charts, that's what these things are. And then I have the 50 and then the 200. So I won't go into depth about what those mean, but just know that it's a moving average. And when it comes to these charts, just to keep it simple, remember how in Yahoo Finance, I said that you can look at it as a line chart. A lot of times I do like to look at the line chart. I switch back and forth between candles and lines because sometimes with the wicks, it can be kind of difficult to see what's going on. So by using the line chart, then I'm able to go ahead and see clearly where the price opened and closed. And that brings me to another point. When it comes to looking at the charts, just know that the line will only give you the open and the close. It won't give you the high and the low. That's what the candles do with the wicks. So if we were just to do a quick demonstration with these candles here, you can see basically the close, at least for the green candle, was here, and then the open for the red candle was here. And let's draw another line. Let's just focus on this green candle right now. So if we was to draw this line at the open, then we can see that, you know, there's some other information here with this wick. And if we switch over to the line, we won't see that information because this only gives us the open and the close. And if we looked at this red candle, let's just move this. Ooh, let me get some water real quick. Since the open and the close of these two candles are essentially the same, I'm not going to move them, but I will move it for the red just so we can see on the line chart how it differs slightly. So we can see that the price stops right at that point because that is the close. And up here, we have a point here because that is the open. So like I said, it's just cool to flip back and forth between the two. So that way you get an understanding of what is happening. So hopefully this gives you a great introduction into reading charts. I mean, and it's fairly, you know, after you get those basics down and some of the terminology, it's fairly simple after that. This is a clear uptrend on this time frame. If we looked at the daily, it looks a little bit more crazy, but basically you can clearly see right here that the price is going up. So it's definitely going up, and then when it was here, it was clearly going down. So once you get those, like I said, once you get those basics in terms of the terminology, just go ahead and look at some of your favorite companies and just play around with the charts. Just look at the charts. And even before I made my first trade with long-term investing or even day trading, if it was a market or a company that I was not familiar with, Apple was the first company that I invested in, then I would just go ahead and look at the charts, not really knowing what was going on, but I just noticed that the price kept fluctuating back and forth between two different points. Sometimes it would go higher or lower. And basically, you don't have to do this forever. I literally just took a minute or two just to look at the price when the market was open to see how it was fluctuating. And over time, I got to see that, let's just say for instance, if we're looking at the daily chart, you can see like, oh, here's a high, and then here's a low, then here's a high, and then here's a low. And this told me, without knowing anything, that this was in a downtrend. And then, oh, it came here, and then it came here. So, okay, price really likes this area. Okay, this may be a price to either buy or sell. I didn't know the terminology at that time, but basically I knew that from general information, you want to buy low, sell high, and this is especially true when you are long-term investing. With day trading, it's a little bit different depending on what you're trying to do, but just know that people generally don't catch the very bottom of moves. So if you're trying to time the very bottom, don't even waste your time, mainly because no one truly knows what the bottom is. But one thing you can do, if you see these, you could possibly, wait until price comes to this area again, and then maybe buy and then ride it up. So like right here, it went up, but then it went down some more. And then say for instance, if you got in right here and you wrote this up, this was a really nice payday for those who let it ride from this point. So basically just study the markets, just look at what price is doing, and over time you'll pick up a lot more things that you didn't notice before, and it's only going to help you become either a good day trader if that's what you do, or long-term investor if that's what you do, or somewhere in between those two. So hopefully this was really helpful. If you like what you saw, please leave a comment in the section below. Tell me what you liked about the video. Tell me what you want to see in the future. And I really hope to see you soon. Go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel. I'm LaKiesha, and I'll talk to you later.